Who is the face of Chicago sports? The Chicago Bulls are staying alive in the NBA's Eastern Conference play-in. The Cubs are successful coming off a 5-4 West Coast road trip. The White Sox, they won their third game of the year. Yay! The NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs are here, and the NBA playoffs are here. That and a whole lot more is this Friday edition of Second City Sports starts right now. Welcome to the Fun Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Mr. King, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kid McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kid's going in the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please download Sports Zone Chicago. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago, rather all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions from the world of sports, during our 2-hour extravaganza we call the Sports Talk Radio Show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do silly, dumb, or stupid, I'll give Lakina full powers to give you fools to be able to be a boot.
Toodles.
But before we begin, we must remind you, you can get Sports Zone Chicago live in the living color right now on Roku TV. That's right. So celebrate with the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. If you already have a Roku television, please tap on that sports folder and download that Sports Zone Chicago app. If you don't have a Roku television, but you have some handheld devices laying around, iPhone, iPad, iTouch, your Chromebook, or your PC, or your Android, just head up to Google Play Store, download that Roku TV app, and access Sports Zone Chicago through that avenue. So no more excuses. Celebrate the squad and get with the program. Sports Zone Chicago is now available on Roku TV. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Live and on demand.
Anytime, anywhere.
And you know we will provide.
And we'll be providing you with some of the best here this Friday on Second City Sports. Of course, we're going to have our illustrious panel as the Bulls gear for a do-or-die game again in Miami tonight against the Heat. Also, too, of course, we'll preview the rest of the NBA playoff schedule as some of those matchups are now set. Also, too, of course, the NHL playoffs will do that hockey, as they're starting to get ready to start their playoffs, starting tomorrow. Also, of course, we got the Cubs as they have a nice road trip as a gear up for a 4-game we're against the Marlins. The Sox are to say a brotherly love and the rest of the MLB schedule this week. But first, Sid, we're going to switch it up a little bit before we get you going here until the break. The face of Chicago, who's the face of Chicago sports right now? And we're asking that because, of course, you've got Connor Bedard, who just finished his first season with the Blackhawks. So he'll probably end up winning the Rookie of the Year, even though he had to miss a little bit. But I'm sure he's still probably going to win the Rookie of the Year in the NHL. Of course, you got Caleb Williams, who about this time will be a Chicago Bear next week, as the draft will be commences next Thursday. Also, too, of course, you got some of the younger girl, Christopher Morel. You probably say maybe Garrett Crochet, or maybe, I guess if you want to do that for the White Sox and the Cubs, respectively. And, of course, the Sky this week, they drafted the last 2 national championship winners and the last most outstanding players, and Camila Cardoso from South Carolina, who, of course, just has 2 of these. national champions. Also to Asia Reese, former LSU point guard, who of course led LSU to a national championship as well. So it's interesting, Sid, that you have a nice little mixture of some players from different sports, all some very very accomplished from jump. So Sid, what do you think? What do you think is the criteria for like the face of Chicago sports as of this moment?
Uh, Obviously, you got to have star power. You got to have a resume. I'm not talking about just championships because if it was that easy, everybody would have a championship. But you got to have a star power. You got to have the ick factor, and you got to attract fans and non-fans for all different types of backgrounds. And what makes you that it person? What makes you that special star? And first, I want to give the Chicago Sky and their management and their head coach Teresa Weatherspoon credit for drafting Cardoso and Angel Reese. The Sky has been down for the last couple years after winning the title in 2021. And the last time they had this kind of buzz was when Candace Parker decided to come back home. And you saw what she did, help the Sky bring home a title. But for the Sky, the way that the momentum's going now for women's college basketball and hopefully professional basketball with Caitlin Clark being drafted by the Indiana Fever. Hopefully the Sky, from what I've read and heard, their merchandise is going up and tickets are only a few are remaining. And I saw on StubHub and all these other tickets, the secondary market ticket sites, the game, I believe, on the 23rd of June when the Indiana Fever come and take on the Sky in the late Sunday afternoon affair. I think the cheapest ticket I saw was $185. That's the star power that I mean. That, of course, the star power of Caitlin Clark, first of all. But this is a criteria that I mean that you have to be the face of a franchise. Do you have that star power? Do you have that X factor? And what makes you special? What makes you that person that stands out that people are going to pay their hard-earned money to come see you play?
You listen to Second City Sports on Chicago. Lakina McGee sitting around with you. Who's the face of Chicago sports is a question here we're going to try to answer for the next few minutes here. And I think, look, as far as like the draft is concerned, look, it's nice to see. Look, the Rays were up. I think they got about 2.5 million, which is almost like 3 or 4 times. Okay, great. But I want to see this momentum build up. And I know some people were saying that, oh, look, Caitlin Clark's going to go make about 70, 70, 75 grand, what have you, a year. But here's the thing. Merchandise goes up. Games, more people start going to games, more people start watching the games, the product grows, so does the salary. It's that simple. It's basic economics. I know people want to say, well, this, but like, no, that's not how it works. So for people who have been bitching about the salaries for the women, look, people have been, the players have been saying this for years. I know, AJ Wilson has been saying it for years, and I think Diana Taurasi said it for a long time, and no one really like paid any attention when she said it at one point. So that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But for me, I think, look, if you're going to actually support this, look, I know some people will say maybe they should move some of the games to the UC. That's not going to happen because you got concerts, and you remember the DNC is going to be at the UC in August, so that's not going to happen. So, look, I mean, you just gotta kind of like, just kind of build from within. And look, you have all the star power you want, but if you're not winning, that all that star power is going to wear off pretty quick. And that's not just with the WNBA, but just with all sports in general. And one of the reasons why the Sky kind of has gone down a little bit. I mean, to the front office credit for getting names that's going to buzz, but if they don't start winning, especially when you're competing up against baseball and the Fire, and you got NASCAR going to be coming back here this summer, most people are going to say, you know what, I'm good. I'll wait till football season.
As we said before, is with the women's college game and the WNBA in particular, it's about marketing. But I like your point. Ultimately, at the end of the day, is about winning. And when you're not winning, like you said, people are not going to show up. Yeah, a few are going to show up because they're diehard fans. They're fans of those particular players that have that star power. But if you're not winning, no one's going to show up.
The consistency, I think, is going to be the thing here, and I want to see, especially next year in women's college basketball, will we see some of the same buzz for Paige Beckers, who's going to be going to her 5th year over at UConn because she sat out because of she was recovering from ACL surgery. Juju Watkins is going to be a sophomore at USC. Hannah Hidalgo, who's going to be a sophomore over down there in South Bend and Notre Dame. I mean, some of the other players are going to be going up. Are we going to be seeing some of the same marketing? because I feel like there's some other elements here. I don't want to get into it because I know I'm not going to have time. But
Mhm.
you wonder with the Caitlin Clark getting her signature shoe, but you're like, okay, good for her. But I'm thinking that some players, and I think some of the players' fans are gonna be too happy with that. So, that I guess a whole nother stuff for a whole nother time. But back to here, I mean, look, you got Connor Bedard, of course, with the Blackhawks. You got the hopefully next year they can build it from the success and maybe perhaps maybe they could probably maybe I don't know if they're gonna go to the playoffs next year or compete for a playoff spot, but they could definitely kind of like be sort of like right there for it. Caleb Williams, I mean, look, we'll talk about that next week, with the draft and
Mhm.
everything. I know people got them winning 10 or 11 games. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but again, whatever. We'll see where the White Sox is and the Cubs as well. So I think for me, I think look at like the star power is always great. But look at what happened to with MJ. I know it's a different time, but star
Mhm.
power, but it wasn't until it started winning, people started more and more folks started
Mhm.
to go into games. So you gotta have that kind of little yin and yang there.
Yeah, it's a combination of not just with the star player, like you said, Lakina, winning on a consistent basis, putting yourself in position every year to go to the playoffs and compete for championships, and that's what it's all about. You mentioned for the Bears, it will be Caleb Williams 6 days from now, in regards to the NFL draft. For the Blackhawks, it is Connor Bedard. For the White Sox, it's Luis Robert Jr. I know his contract runs out in 2029. I know many people are worried about that, but that's a whole the subject for a whole nother time. For the Cubs, is it Christopher Morel? I will challenge. It'll be just. Would it be Justice Steele? I know some people will say, "Well, it's Cody Bellinger." It may be him for right now. Don't forget, folks. He could opt out of his contract at the end of the year. But
Mhm.
just to be fair, I think for this year, I think he's the face of the Cubs franchise. But I don't think Justice Steele and or Christopher Morel are too far behind. And the reason why I brought it up because the Sky they had put themselves in that conversation with Angel Reese and with Carmelo Cardoso. But like you said, they got to build the Sky front office. Still got to continue to build this team to those star power players on their team. If they start if they start winning, people are going to come out and more, and they're going to become the talk of the town. And like we said before, the name of the game is winning. You need the stars to come and attract to your games, but what's going to keep the fans in those seats is winning.
And I think that's really gonna be the thing here. And that's gonna be the wild card for them. And look, you got Teaspoon, who's a very accomplished player, a Hall of Famer in her own right. She comes with real great credentials, as a player and a coach. But I think, like you said, Sid. I mean, one of the reasons why they kind of went down for this guy the last couple of years because they weren't winning. They started,
Mm-hmm.
tearing everything down. And look, I give the front office credit for bringing star power, but remember here in Chicago, like star power, yeah, they can only go so far. So I think
Mm-hmm.
look, if you need 3-point shooting, they don't have that at the moment. Because it's a 3-point shooting. You got the star power. You got you got ladies that can. I forgot the young lady from Gonzaga that they also picked in that third pick, but Brenna Maxwell. That's who the other young lady that they got from Gonzaga. And it's just that look, you gotta start winning. Like you can have all the star power in the seats. We're gonna be beating overhead with it, but you're not gonna be able to get that consistency if they don't play well. So here's the thing for me. Like, look, I'm glad that are people gonna start buying merchandise, consistently? Are people gonna start supporting, games? So like I said, there are other elements here, but like I said, I don't think no one's ready for that conversation just yet. But good luck to them.
Yeah, I think that Cardoso and Angel Reese, you could like I said earlier, you could put them in the conversation, but they're not the face of Chicago sports. Yeah, like we said before, the Sky franchise. Remember, they had an ugly reputation for a long time. They kind of got erased with that 2021 championship. Remember, Elena Deladon, because
Mhm.
of some stuff in the front office, she left here. He had a couple other players not saying good things about this franchise. So I think PR wise, they're back to being on the positive side as far as public opinion. But like we said before, we'll say it again. It's about marketing. But if you want to keep the fans happy, it's about winning and winning on a consistent basis.
We just see, we see some of the rising stars here for some of the teams that we mentioned. So yeah, I mean, the Bulls. You probably could say maybe Kobe White, maybe Io, since he is from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably you probably that's who you're going to get. Maybe perhaps maybe say he's just kind of the star there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, like I said, good luck to this guy, and I hope they can. Hopefully, women, the WNBA can build on this momentum.
The Chicago Cubs had a successful West Coast road trip. The White Sox actually won their third game of the year, and we almost had a no-hitter this week. And a former Major League pitcher had his son make his debut yesterday in the city of Motown. That and a whole lot more as the Friday edition of Second City Sports continues right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class. These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports on this fun Friday fun edition. We're live in the living color of Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid, that's Lakina. You can follow yours surely on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kimmy on the Twitter, X, and Q's coming in the IG.
We have 85 minutes left or so left in this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
Okay, Sid, let's do that baseball as the Cubs are getting up for now 4 game because Saturday tomorrow's game is going to be a double header after it was rained out last night. But I think as they came back with a 5-4 record out west, I know you could say there were a couple of games where they probably should have had. Probably could have been 6-3 or 7-2. But you know what, 5-4 is not bad. considering everything that kind of transpired with the injuries and the shorthanded bullpen and all that. It was really the hitting, of course. Now, of course, um, uh, I know Seiya is going to be out for a little bit with that oblique injury. So, but then again, you know what? Looking back, if you're the Cubs, you got to be feeling pretty good right now.
Yes, as we said before, going into the third week now of the regular season, this Cubs team is built on pitching and defense, but the offense has carried them, like you said, despite the injuries, especially to the pitching staff. Now with Seiya Suzuki, one of your best hitters, going down for the next, I believe, 10 days, it's going to be another challenge. But I still believe that the Cubs offensively will be okay, especially like you mentioned, open up the 4-game weekend series against the Miami Marlins today. And the return of Tim Anderson and Jake Burger, by the way, to the city of Chicago, former White Sox players. But also, too, Jameson Taillon will make his regular season debut today. One of the Cubs starting pitchers that were injured during the year. I know he got injured during spring training, so he replaces Seiya Suzuki on the roster. But I want to go back to the last game on Wednesday, which the Cubs defeated the Diamondbacks 5-3. It was nice to see Cody Bellinger get back on track with 2 hits, including that home run. Hayden Wisniewski, who was the failed 5th starter last year, he came in relief of Jordan Wicks, who pitched 4 in the 3rd, striking out 5. Hayden Wisniewski pitched 4 shutout innings, only giving up 1 hit. After the Cubs blew that game on Tuesday, losing 12-11 in extra innings, it was nice to see the Cubs bullpen, especially with their middle relief, get back on track to take the series at Arizona Wednesday.
Yeah, that was a really nice win and something that they really needed as this is a leaving series for them. So yeah, I mean, look, it's good to see it was you stepped up in the pitching part because I think, like you said, I mean, Wicks had a solid start. He got pulled after, but he left after 5.5. I think he pitched like 110 or something, and was able to come in and kind of shut the door a couple of times. It was sometimes when the D-bats were threatening, but he was able to get out of that. So that helps with them there. Now Hendricks didn't have his best start on Tuesday, but you know what? I think you keep him in the rotation against the Marlins, the lonely Marlins. You try to maybe cure what ails you there. Then you can find out if he still stinks against the Marlins. Then we'll find out. You can find out what you can do after that. But I think right now I'm not ready to pull the plug on Hendricks just yet.
I'm not either. I was going to ask you, what would you do with Kyle Hendricks? And by the way, he gets to start on Sunday in the series finale. So if you can get it together there, I'm not saying you're going to put him on the injured list. Maybe you skip him and see what happens there. But I want to give a shout out to Ben Brown, their new star, who had to make an emergency start on Monday. Say that 5 times fast. He pitched 6 innings, giving up 1 earned run, 1 hit, and 4 strikeouts, and only walking 2 batters. I know the Cubs won that series opening game 3-2 on Monday, but he pitched his butt off of making an emergency start, and that's what you need with this Cubs team with the various injuries that we mentioned earlier. Guys stepping in and stepping up, and Mr. Brown did a great job last Monday.
Yeah, pretty good. I think he literally had to get to Arizona. I think like that, I think like 12 hours before the start. So, to his credit, he was able to get there pretty quick. And, and to his credit, look, a solid showing there. So a very good, showing here, despite, literally just getting there just a few hours before it starts. So, look, you adjust. I remember he said, look, you got to adjust. He's used to it. He's been in the minors for a couple of years. So, these crazy scheduling. Like I said, they play the Marlins starting today, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, they should be able to get 3 out of 4 at least, if not sweep, because the Marlins have been kind of they've had injuries. That I know Tim Anderson, and Jake Burgers is bad, but you got they haven't been playing very well either. So hopefully, look, if you're the Cubs, you want to try to step on some of these teams that you got coming up in this homestand.
Yes, you cannot worry about tomorrow. You have to worry about today. The Cubs, they do play the Marlins. They're on their schedule. They did a great job of what the circumstances they had going out there on the West Coast. But like you said, if you want to be a good team, a team that competes for playoff spots, you have to beat the teams that are on your schedule. And you had to show up. You can show up against the good teams, which the Cubs did against Seattle and Arizona. Now, can you put the pedal to the metal against the bad teams that you should be able to beat?
Going to the White Sox for a second. They did lose 2 out of 3 to the Royals, but they did get a 3rd win of the season, splitting a doubleheader on traveling day on Wednesday. I mean, like Gavin Sheetsman playing very well. He got another home run. Eric Feed, I should say, got 6 scoreless, I should say, as the Sox actually did get their third win. They're now 3-15. So, I mean, look, I think you're taking if you're a White Sox right now, you're gonna be going to Philly, playing a Philly team that's getting hot all of a sudden. So we'll get to that in a second. But I mean, okay, you got the third win of the season. Yay!
Just steal all the thunder, why don't you? But at least on paper, it looks like Garrett Sheets is the best hitter on the White Sox roster. And like you said, his home run was the key in that second game on Wednesday. Eloy Jimenez, your guy, is back, Lakina, but he doesn't look himself, and don't worry, he's not going to be put out on the field. Let's hope not. I know Pedro Grifol loses it sometimes in his mind, but I don't want to see Eloy out there, nor does anybody else. But you mentioned with Eric Fetty's performance on Wednesday, that was the best performance by far outside of Garrett Crochet's performances this season from a White Sox starter. And the White Sox, they need to score runs on a consistent basis. It's like wherever you watch a highlight or you watch check in on them for a few minutes, it's like you're watching them trying to pull teeth for them to score more than 2 or 3 runs, and it's embarrassing. I know you got injuries to Johan Makata, Eloy, and Luis Robert Jr. I get it, but can you score more than 3 runs, please?
Oh, goody. 7.5, like about 5.5 more months of this. Yay. So, you're playing.
Say this: the Sox do have a chance to get their 4th win tonight. Garrett Crochet goes on the hill.
Well, I mean, like, you're gonna be facing the Philly squad. Yes, I know. Granted, they did sweep the Rockies, but like, they did what you're supposed to against the Rockies squad. You're gonna be dealing with Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and yeah, I mean, Crochet they may have that one shot for him to get a win, but I think, look, you're not gonna get a Phillies team that's not gonna look. They're right there with the Braves in the NL East, I should say. So you're not gonna get a team that's not gonna like, oh well, they're playing the White Sox, okay, we'll just sleepwalk. No, that's not gonna happen. So they're gonna have a tough go against the Phillies starting tonight, but we'll see what happens.
All right, to the rest of baseball, Lakina, yesterday, the Texas Rangers, Mr. Jack Leiter, his father, remember Al Leiter, the former MLB pitcher? I think he still works for the MLB Network. His son made his debut yesterday for the Texas Rangers. Didn't quite make it to 4 innings, but it was a proud moment for him and his family. The Rangers came out of Detroit with the series win, winning the series finale 9-7.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, with his grandparents, I think that's probably why his mind just wasn't in it. But look, I mean, look, I think that 2 pairs of lighters. And remember Mark Senior, Mark Junior, of course. So, like the lighters are lighting up. You should say, in baseball right now. But like Texas, I mean, look, they're defending champs. Like you're kind of. But like it did beat the Tigers, so they were able to pull it out. They did win 3 out of 4, so you take that if you're a Rangers fan. You're kind of like in there, right there to think of it the AL West. But yeah, I think it was a really, again, not a good showing, but it is what it is. But I want to talk about that division. Talk about my Mariners for a second. They're right there in the thick of it. They swept the Reds. So it looks like the pitching and hitting are starting to figure out those cool City Connect jerseys that they wore. It kind of looks like they're old jerseys from like way back when they first became a franchise with the yellow.
The edition.
Right, exactly. So, but yeah, a nice showing there. Also, Bryce Miller almost had a no hitter in that second game of that series. He did toss a 1-hitter. So yesterday, yesterday I should say. So yeah, it was it was Wednesday. My bad. The other days are kind of like fogging up. But yeah, very good showing by him. He's starting to heat up a little bit. So Mariners are coming strong.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. That's going to be a tough AL West with them. I know Houston's struggling right now. You still have the defending world champion Texas Rangers in there as well. Speaking of a no-hitter almost, Michael King almost had one for the San Diego Padres. He pitched 7 2/3 innings, giving up two hits. He took a no-hitter into the 7th before losing it. The Milwaukee Brewers avoided being swept at home by the San Diego Padres. They won the series finale early Wednesday afternoon, 1-0. The Padres take 2 out of 3 from the Brewers.
It was a nice show by the Padres. Are right there with the Dodgers, who lose 2 out of 3 to the Nats, and they were actually shut out for the first like 3 years or something like that. They've been shut out, especially at home. Yeah, I don't want to say it's inexcusable, but I mean, look, it's a long season. It ebbs and flows, but he should have at least won 2 out of 3 against the Nationals. And I know. Let me guess. I'm sure LA folks are already calling for Dave Roberts' head. So
Yeah, yeah.
it's a
Foolish,
why. So
foolish.
of course, but I'm sure they'll figure it out. I'm sure they'll be fine. I think so. They got their pitch. Yeah, the hit is doing okay. I know they didn't really show up this year. I think they kind of like slept walk through that national series. They do get the Mets starting tonight, so we'll see what happens with that. But I'm not worried about the Dodgers just yet.
I wouldn't be worried about them either. Speaking of the Mets, they swept the Pirates earlier this week. We talked about the Pirates being one of those surprise teams in the major leagues. Yep, and look, as you watch Lakina, yeah, the stock is going down for the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Mets scored a total of 18 runs in this series. So after an 0-5 start, they were turning out to be playing baseball, playing the best baseball among the top 5 teams in Major League Baseball. Pete Alonso, it still has that power within his bat. Jeff McNeil, who won the batting title a couple of years ago, he had to execute a squeeze button perfectly, which surprised the Mets broadcasters. You watch that game on Wednesday. You still have Francisco Lindor. Hopefully he'll have a bounce back year. Edwin Diaz, their closer, who was gone for all of last year, he's now back. And so I'm not going to sit here and say the Mets have everything figured out and they're going to turn their season around. I'm not going to sit here and say they're going to the playoffs, period. No, that National League is going to be stacked all year long. But if you're a New York Mets fan, it's nice to see them get back on track and get right at 500.
Yeah, hopefully they are sort of figuring things out. The Mets are, so that should be a well. I know that's what they needed there. Now going to the AL East, Baltimore. Baltimore took care of the Twins. They swept the Twins, including the gamer on Wednesday, Cedric Mullins, who hardly that was his very first walk off. Which I'm a little surprised by that when they said in the broadcast, but. They actually had puppies in there with Kevin Brown and Ben McDonald. That was so cute. Those little beagles. They're so adorable. But yeah, they did sweep the Twins, the Orioles, and yeah, I mean, I think Baltimore. I know the Yankees. We'll talk about them in a second. But yeah, I really like where Baltimore's going right now.
Yeah, the pitching has been solid. We talk about that bats with Gunnar Henderson, and you mentioned Cedric Mullins winning that third game of that series the other day with a walk-off home run. Adley Rutschman as well, Anthony Santander. When those guys have it going on, you have a tough time the opposing pitcher and getting those guys out. And give the Baltimore's manager Brandon Hyde credit for having these guys motivated and putting those players in a position to win ball games.
Yeah, a really good showing there. Now the Yankees, they did lose. They did win that that rubber match against the Blue Jays. Saving themselves getting swept. Still getting a little bit crowded there in the AL East. So that's going to be interesting to see what's going to shake out here because each team always have their own weaknesses and stuff, but they all have their strengths too.
Yeah, it was important for Toronto to win that series. I know the Yankees are struggling a bit. I know that a few of their fans and a couple of talk show hosts are starting to go crazy, like the Dodgers with Dave Roberts overreacting. But I think the Yankees will still be okay. But I want to ask you, Lakina, about Carlos Rodon's start on Monday. It wasn't great, but I don't think it was terrible as some people have made it out to be. And here's why. I know he reached just about over 100 pitches. Over 4 in the third innings. I know that was his problem here in Chicago, especially early in his career before his injury, but I didn't think it was all that bad. It's just like Toronto, and sometimes it's just not your night, but I didn't think Carlos Rodon pitched all that bad, minus the pitch count. I didn't think he pitched all that badly. I know he walked a few guys, but it wasn't totally on him. That's just me.
No, I think it would. No, yeah. I mean, look, that's a tough Toronto lineup. We know that he actually did pretty good against considering. So I think for people to kind of figure, oh my God, sit him down or DFA him. I like it. That's a little bit much. So I think
pay him, they're not gonna DFA him.
Yeah, I'll say yeah. I mean, look, he's doing he did okay to considering they did win the game, save themselves from getting swept. So I think people need to kind of just chill on that because you know how Dodgers and Yankees fans are. They got to win. They go 112, 20 games every year. So how that works. But it's kind of silly for them to say that. But whatever.
The Atlanta Braves sweep away the Houston Astros. I know I had the Astros not making the playoffs this year, but I didn't expect them to have a start like this. I know Justin Verlander will make his regular season debut tonight for the Houston Astros, but we talk about the Atlanta Braves. I know they lose Spencer Strider, their starter for the year, with a UCL injury, but their bats came alive in that series.
Yeah, I think that's really something. I think some of the, and they're going to have to depend on the bats too, especially if their pitching is not kind of where it's at. They may have to make some moves in the trade deadline because remember, you got the Phillies, they're right there. The Mets are heating up as well, so I think though it's definitely going to be a slugfest in the NL East. So looks like the Rays are going to run away with it.
Yep, back to the American League East. The Tampa Bay Rays take 2 out of 3 for the Anaheim Angels, win the last 2 games of the series. And the Boston Red Sox, they lose 3 out of 4 at home at Fenway to the Cleveland Guardians. The Guardians, Lakina, not too many people are talking about them, but they lead the AL Central over the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, I think you're fine with that. If you're Carlos Carrasco, he's starting to heat things up. So I think that look, with no Shane Bieber, they're going to have to get other guys. Are going to have to step up in that rotation. I think you're okay with not no one really talking about them right now. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of if they can keep it up.
Yep. All right, let's get to tonight's schedule for tonight and for the weekend around Major League Baseball. Of course, the White Sox and the Phillies in the city of brotherly love. Of course, the Cubs and the Marlins start their series in about less than a half hour from now from the friendly confines. We have the Angels at Cincinnati. We have Boston at Pittsburgh, Houston at Washington, the rematch of the 2019 World Series. Tampa Bay at the Yankees, Oakland at Cleveland, Texas at Atlanta. The opening game is tonight on Apple TV Plus at 6:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. Baltimore visits Kansas City. Detroit will face Minnesota. Milwaukee and St. Louis, they always have battles there in the NL Central race. Your Seattle Mariners will visit Colorado. That should be a sweep this weekend. Toronto will visit San Diego. The Mets and the Dodgers you mentioned earlier from Dodger Stadium. And the Diamondbacks and the San Francisco Giants will continue their 4-game series tonight. I believe San Francisco won the opener last night 5-0.
They did. That Toronto-San Diego series, I mean, take the over, I guess, in that game. Now, the rest of your national schedule on FS1, Saturday game of the week. Of course, you got the Mets and the Dodgers. It's going to be at 3:05. And on your Sunday night game will be Texas, the defending the last two champions of the World Series, the Rangers and the Braves. That should be a fun series coming up starting tonight.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Lakina, hanging out here with you. All right, Lakina, since we have a few minutes left before we shut down our number one, let's do that hockey. We'll focus in locally quickly. The Chicago Blackhawks had their last broadcast last night on NBC Sports Chicago. They lose in overtime to the LA Kings. The Blackhawks finished the 2023-24 campaign with 23 victories. As you mentioned, Connor Bedard will probably get Rookie of the Year, even though he missed a little bit over a month earlier this season. Lakina, is very different. It's a very different feel from what happened a year ago, where the team was tanking, trying to get the number one pick. They got it with getting Connor Bedard. Lakina, even though the record looks ugly, I see a little bit of improvement here and there. They still a couple years, in my opinion, away for competing for a playoff spot, but I think the future is still bright. I want to see what GM Kyle Davidson does this summer.
Yeah, you still got Nick Foligno. You got Tyler Johnson. I mean, those guys have actually been pretty solid this year. You got Seth Jones. I mean, what's going to be interesting to see what Davidson does. Does he kind of bring in more younger talent? Does he bring, Rafael Nazar back? Even those last couple games, he looked really good. We'll see when he plays a full season with the Blackhawks. Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting if he does, if Davidson does bring in a couple of veteran guys to kind of like be sort of like the guy with some of these younger players, kind of like mix up a little bit. So, it'll be interesting because I think the cap situation is still very interesting for the Blackhawks. So they do got some money to spend, not a lot, but some. Mm-hmm. So we'll just see what direction they take with some of these moves.
Yeah, like you said, we saw what the couple of veteran players they brought in before the season started. I know Corey Perry, that situation is a whole another topic within itself. But I thought that from what the situation was, I thought that GM Kyle Davidson did an okay job, above average job this year. Knowing that your franchise player Connor Bedard, it starts with him, but you need to put veterans around him. And now you're starting to see some of the young players they're going to bring up starting next year to put around them as well. So you had to have that the right mixture to help set the groundwork for this franchise. And I think the Hawks are moving in the right direction. Like you said, this is not what happened a decade ago where you competing for Stanley Cup. So we worry about going over the hard salary cap and blah, 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 blah. No, like you said, the Hawks will have a little wiggle room to work with. And you're not really overpaying for anybody on their roster right now anyway.
No, so I think you're in a pretty good spot if you're Kyle Davidson and the Hawks. Let's talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs real quick. Sid, of course, starting tomorrow. These games are on TBS. You got the New York Islanders and the Carolina Hurricanes. That should be a fun series. Then you got the Maple Leafs and Boston, the 7:00 game also on TBS.
Your Hurricanes, Lakina, I know they're up and down the roster. They play like the best team in the league. I know they had 111 points this year in the regular season. The Islanders were one of the last teams to get in the Eastern Conference next to the Washington Capitals. I think this, if we're really judging this series based on paper, Carolina's the better team. They'll probably win it in 5, but I won't be surprised if this was a 6 or 7 game series.
Yeah, the Islanders have that kind of like that tenacity, of course, with their new coach Patrick Waugh, who this is not his first rodeo. So we'll be interested to see. Like this could be a entertaining 5-game series, I guess, if you're the Islanders and the Hurricanes. Now, of course, Toronto and Boston. We know these two teams have always been playing each other in the playoffs over the years. I think for me the key is going to be like who's going to get that jump early. I know Boston. They've been very disappointed the last few years in the playoffs. And Toronto, they want to kind of get back into that Stanley Cup final. So it's going to be interesting to see what these two teams. This could go 6 or 7, I think.
I think it's going to be the power play series, I'll call it. Whose special teams is going to show up. We know what Boston can do, especially on the penalty kill, but Toronto has that firepower, and it starts with Austin Matthews. I know Toronto finally got over the hump, I believe, last year, getting past the first round of the playoffs, but it's going to be a tough task for them this year. I think I think this really comes down to which team has the most to prove, like you mentioned, given the recent history of the playoff runs of these two teams. I think Boston has more to prove because of what happened last year. Not only they lost in the first round, they lost to a team that went to the Stanley Cup final last year. So I think Boston has more to prove. I'm going out on a limb. I'm taking Boston, but it will be a full 7-game series.
Same. I got Boston as well. The Battle of Florida. These games start tomorrow. They're all on ESPN. Quadruple header. You got Tampa Bay and Florida. Speaking of Florida, them into the final last year. And like I said, to me, I think these are two teams that they're veteran teams. They know what to do. So I think I'll say Florida in 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa, maybe wins this series.
Just because I'll go on the other side, I'll say Tampa. Even though I've been on Florida for the second half of the year because they picked up Vladimir Tarasenko from Ottawa. Sorry.
Ottawa.
Yeah. So I'm going just to be opposite of you. I'm going with Tampa. Like you say, these are two evenly matched teams. To be honest with you, so like you say, it should be one heck of an offensive series. To be honest with you.
Yeah, Washington and New York, of course. New York are Presidents Cup champions, and this should go 5. With the Capitals. The Capitals are okay. They haven't been great, but yeah, I think anything other than like a Eastern Conference Finals appearance for the Rangers are probably going to be disappointing. I think especially if you're a Rangers fan.
Yeah, if you're Washington, we'll see if they have strong goaltending to match up with the Rangers' goaltending. As a fan, I'm cheering as hard as hell for Ovechkin, but like you said, the Rangers are the better team here. They should eliminate them in 5 games, but I'll give Washington an extra win, so the Rangers in 6 for me.
Yeah, evenly matched here in the Western Conference. You got Colorado and Winnipeg.
This should be a potential offensive series as well. I know Colorado. They were. I think they lost their game last night. If I'm wrong, correct me. But I know Nathan McKinnon finished second in scoring in the NHL this year, and so he's really have it going on right now. Like you said, on the flip side for Winnipeg, they play well as a team. They usually have good special teams. I think that's one of the elements what's going to come down to who has the best special teams. But I think Colorado's the overall better team. I'm going with them in 6.
I think if Winnipeg doesn't get it going here early on, doesn't jump on Colorado, yeah, I think the Avs might get the jet. I will put the Avs 2 and 6, but I wouldn't be surprised if this goes 7. Real quick, you got the Prez and the Canucks. We know these two teams, have had their battles over the years in the playoffs.
Yeah, Nashville is one of the last teams to get in. Vancouver with Elias Patterson has had a phenomenal year, a surprising year. I know not too many people expected this Canucks young squad to score 109 points, but the Predators, traditionally they're known as a tough defensive team. They could put the puck in the back of the net, but Vancouver just has too much talent up and down the roster, and they can escape most teams. So I'm going with Vancouver in 6.
Should be a fun series. I'll say Vancouver in 7. I just think that this is going to be evenly matched. Now, of course, this game, this first game doesn't start till Monday. Don't ask me why, but you got Vegas and you got Vegas and Dallas, and the Kings and the Oilers. On these games start on Monday on ESPN, ESPN2 respectively.
All right, quickly, I know the Vegas and Dallas, I think that's the rematch of last year's Western Conference Final. I think I want to say the Golden Knights, but I think that their match will run out. So I'm going with Dallas here. I'm putting the pressure on them. Dallas in 6. And the Kings and the Oilers. The Kings had that coaching change. They picked up their play, and they're one of the last teams in the West to get in. But I still say Edmonton's the better team. Edmonton in 6.
All right, yeah, I got Vegas in 7. I'll say Edmonton in 6. Edmonton is 6 as well. Of course, these games start on TBS and on ESPN respectively over the weekend on ESPN, ESPN2. Check your local listings, and we'll give you the rest of the scheduling next week.
All right. Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as Second City Sports continues with our 2024 NBA playoff preview show, including our preview of tonight's Miami Heat Chicago Bulls contest in the Western Conference play-in between the Sacramento Kings and the New Orleans Pelicans. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports, the Friday edition. We're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina Gee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and Kids going in the IG.
This is our NBA Bulls Power Hour, our 2024 NBA Playoff Preview Show. So if you have any questions or comments for us, especially for our next guest of great panelists, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comments section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you. And just a daily reminder, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, live and on demand on Roku TV.
Okay, Sid, our panel is here. Let's introduce them, please.
Yes, leading us off the Ricky Henderson style. He checks in from On Air Daily. He's their host, content creator, and does everything for that great organization. Here comes our man, Mr. Joshua M. Hicks. Josh, welcome back to the show.
What's up, everybody? Hope everybody's well. Glad to be back on. Talking about the Ricky Henderson intro. That was clever, Sid. Very clever.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. We try around here. You know how we do.
No doubt.
Next up, we haven't had him on since the beginning of the season back in October. He's rocking the clean-shaved face this time. He's one half of the Bulls pre- and post-game show from CHGO Bulls. He is our man, the president of Bulls Nation, Mr. Matthew Peck. Matt, welcome back to the show.
What's up, guys? Sid, Lakina, it's so good to see you. Hicks, my guy!
Oh, man.
I kind of missed that Dylan Cease mustache, man. What made you want to cut it off?
Well, actually, my driver's license expired last month, and I decided that I didn't want to have the creepy middle-aged guy mustache in my driver's license photo, so I ditched the Bull season stash a month early this year, so just going to rock a clean-shaven look for a while.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And, of course, he is back by popular demand. We had him on back in February, made his debut right here on Second City Sports. He's a Hall of Fame hoops writer in the Sunday columnist for the Chicago Sun-Times. Last but definitely not the least, here's our main man, Mr. Robert Scoop Jackson. Scoop, welcome back.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, how's it going?
Everything's good, man. I can't complain. What's happening, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's up, legend?
Doing great.
Here,
it's an honor, man. It's an honor.
Oh, pleasure. Good seeing everybody.
All right, Lakina, start us off.
Man, I didn't shave off my stuff for my driver's license, man. You know, I wanted to.
Okay. You pull it off, man. With the smart guy glasses and the salt and pepper look, you're crushing it.
Yeah, I like the creepy old man look. You know what I'm saying? To keep people away from me.
I guess sophisticated, I guess. We'll keep the Bulls talk to a minimum. But of course, the Bulls got a big one tonight against the Heat. Do or die. They win, they get the Knicks. They lose, they go home. Josh, I'll start with you. No Butler, no Rozier tonight for the Heat. I mean, there's no way the Bulls can lose this. Can they?
If we could say that, the Bulls wouldn't be a 9th seed playing in the play-in tournament. Unfortunately, reality is the Bulls can lose this one. It's the inconsistencies up and down throughout the season, especially defensively, has been really kicking the Bulls in the butt. They have a better chance because obviously Jimmy's not there as their fearless leader. That's the one that gets the engine going. But Miami has the one thing that the Bulls do not have, and that's the discipline. They know who they are. They have the culture. They have the championship experience, and they know what it takes to get the job done in playing moments, considering they went through this last year as well. So you can never count out Miami. You can never count out Miami with the sound discipline, the culture, the coaching that they do have. Even though Kobe White's been great, and the additions that they played recently has really helped the Bulls get over the hump in some cases. But playoff basketball is playoff basketball, and we know that the Bulls have not had their best success recently when it comes to that. So I'm gonna go with Miami to win this. It may be a close game, but I'm definitely gonna go with Miami, and I expect Miami to win this game because it only takes one game to get to that next level. And I think Miami has, but it takes more than what the Bulls currently do have.
Matt?
Yeah, I'm with Josh. Do I think the Bulls can lose this game? Oh, no, they don't have Jimmy Butler? Hell yeah, the Bulls can lose this game. They've proven to us over the last few seasons of this DeMar-led roster that they're capable of beating anybody and they're capable of losing to anybody. See 2 losses to the Pistons. See loss to the Wizards. Yeah, the Bulls can lose. And look, I know Bulls fans are riding high off of Kobe White's career night and their comfortable win over the Hawks on Wednesday. And yay, it was fun. Good for them. Good for Kobe. But the Heat defense is going to be different because I swear to God, Trae Young had a flight booked to Cancun leaving O'Hare on Wednesday night. He and that Hawks team were done. They had no interest in playing that game. They were ready for their season to be over. That Hawks defense that Kobe and the Bulls carved up was basically the equivalent of like O'Hare TSA, just waving people through at rush hour. That was not an NBA defense. And the Heat, for all of their flaws and shortcomings and the fact that they're more a playoff-built team than a regular season-built team, they still had a top-5 defense in the NBA this season. And Jimmy Butler or no Jimmy Butler, they still have Eric Spoelstra over there. So absolutely the Bulls can lose this game.
Scoop?
I agree, but I disagree. I think they can lose this game. I just don't think necessarily that they will. Everything that Matt and Joshua said are 200% correct. I just am going with the belief, and going back to last year, since this is basically a repeat of the exact same scenario of last year, that partially because Jimmy Butler's not there, and partially because their mid-season acquisition in Terry Rozier was brought in to probably cover for situations like this, especially on the offensive end, that the Bulls can play 2 minutes of better basketball than they did last year in the fourth quarter against this Miami team that will get them over the hump that didn't happen last year. They fought Miami last year for 47 minutes in an elimination playing game, and it was that last 2 minutes that they fell apart. So my point is that we're watching the exact same thing happen again. And that also, that redemption, thing that goes into caveat that goes into games like this could be a factor. But I'm just thinking that without Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier there, that if the same scenario plays itself out, the Bulls will find a way to play 48 minutes as opposed to 47 or 46 minutes of basketball to pull this out. That's all I'm asking for. 2 minutes of basketball different than you played last year. That's not much. It's not much. That's all that. And if you really look at the whole thing, that's all you're asking. Play the exact same game you played last year against the exact same team who are 2 of their players down, but just play 2 minutes more better basketball.
And I'm guessing
I'm thinking they can do that.
I'm guessing it's a fair estimation that Billy Donovan won't pull Kobe White out of the game in the last final minutes of the fourth quarter this time around, like he did last year.
Just a thought. Yeah.
Well, Andre Drummond doesn't step on anybody else's ankles, so
Sid?
Can the Bulls lose this game? Of course they can, but here's a couple things I'm concerned about going into tonight. Of course, Alex Caruso, which is good news, he's expected to play, but how much can he go on that ankle? He didn't play much in that second half on Wednesday against Atlanta. Number 2, Kobe White had a game of his life with 42 points. Loved it just like everybody else, but if the Bulls struggle shooting, especially if Kobe White struggles to shoot tonight, yes, you have DeMar DeRozan, but who else is going to step up to help out Kobe White, to help out DeRozan? I'm looking at Nikolai Vucevic to step up tonight, and I'm looking for what can Ayo Dosunmu do against this tough Miami defense.
They're gonna, Vooch and Io is both gonna have big games tonight. So we'll see what happens, but it should be fun. That'll be the first game on ESPN at 6 o'clock tonight.
Yes, in the second game of the playing doubleheader tonight, it'll be on TNT at 8:30. The Sacramento Kings will play the New Orleans Pelicans. It looks like Zion Williamson will not play for New Orleans. Sacramento in the Golden State season the other night in the 9-10 playing game, while the Pelicans lost to the Los Angeles Lakers in their first attempt at the playing game the other night. Josh, I'll start with you. Who has the edge tonight, New Orleans or Sacramento?
I'm going Sacramento. No, Zion is a huge deal for the Pelicans, but at the same time, Brandon Ingram has been non-existent as of recent, as well as CJ McCollum in the last game. There's no way those two of your best players should be combining under 20 points in your backcourt. That's just unacceptable. They should be able to exploit and score the way with the talent that they have, man. And that's necessary tonight. They have to do double duty because of the fact that Zion Williamson is not there. The Kings, they're wounded too. They're definitely missing Kevin Huerter. They're definitely missing Malik Monk. But they have the veteran leadership within their coaching staff, as well as the fact that these young guys is running and gunning. De'Aaron Fox is stepping up in a whole nother level in Wade last game that got him MVP type of caliber talk the previous season. So I think the Kings do have enough to get it done. Keegan Murray was absolutely lights out last game. I expect that to transfer over into this one. And I just don't think the Pelicans have enough, especially if Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum don't show up. Those two don't show up. The Pelicans might as well pack their bags and go home. And on the way, take Zion Williams, whoever needs to get so we can get his end of the season meal, because it's pretty much done for at this point.
Scoop?
I'm not going to be as harsh on Brandon Ingram as Joshua is. I mean, he had missed 12 games. Just came. This is only his second or third game back. I can't remember. He's just getting back. But in truth, they do need him. And I don't know if you risk having further complications either in the next series or next season by playing Brandon 35, 37, close to 40 minutes a game and expecting him to give you like Brandon Ingram numbers. I don't know how New Orleans would approach that. And you would hope that CJ McCollum scratches that off as just a bad game and he's their, he's their leader. No disrespect to Zion, but he's their leader even when Zion's on the floor because he's the vet. He's the one that's been there before. He's the one they brought in to organize and shape all this. He's technically supposed to be their Chauncey Billups. But even with that said, I don't see them getting past the Kings. And I think Malik Monk, in my mind, it should be like highly considered, if not given the Sixth Man of the Year award for how important he is to that squad. But between Sabonis, I'm on top of Murray. Murray, we saw him have a good game, but I don't know if that's going to transfer to the next game. If he has two good games like that in a row, then there's no question. But between, Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox, that's without Zion being there and without Brandon being even anywhere close to being 100% and having real game runs under his belt to play in a game at this speed, at this intensity, at this pace, with this much meaning, I really don't think the Pelicans have a chance. And I'm a New Orleans Pelican fan. Like, I got a day one Pelicans hat when they first came to New Orleans. So I want this to happen, but I'm not that stupid to think that, this is, that something is going to happen. Sacramento got over their biggest hump by finally beating the Warriors. And I don't think they're going to let that down. I think the confidence is going to roll over, into this game. And I'm pretty sure we'll be able to go on and start watching something else at the end of the third quarter.
Matt?
Well, I mean, before I give my 2 cents on, Kings Pelicans, Scoop, I got to know if you're like an OG day one Pelicans fan, are you over the whole Anthony Davis thing yet? Are you rooting for another Nugget sweep? Like what? No. How do we feel about Lakers AD?
No, not at all. I mean, because I understand the business of basketball, and also, and this is what surprises me, Matt. We got to have an off camera off conversation, because everybody's been screaming about Anthony Davis and his inability as he's been with the Lakers. Nothing changed from New Orleans to the Lakers. His same inability was there when he was in New Orleans. So it's funny how people transfer narratives when apparently in their minds it means something. Like Anthony Davis has been Anthony Davis. That's my guy.
Yeah.
But that hasn't changed. So from my point to your point is that had Anthony Davis stayed there, we would have gotten the exact same inability to play, and New Orleans would be in the same place they were before he left. Nothing would have changed. I don't even think we're talking about them possibly in a playing situation. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that would not have happened to New Orleans had he gotten there.
Yeah.
I mean, had he stayed there. So I don't look at it like that. Oh my God, I'm over. No, because there's some things that happen. You know, Zion was able to, quote unquote, at least show glimpses, but you're dealing with his own issue. Ingram definitely wouldn't have been there. They wouldn't have traded for CJ McCollum. Herb Jones wouldn't have been there. You know, Trey wouldn't have been there. You know, we can go through the lineup of how we can go through everything that would have remained the same and not been there now had they not done this. I don't even know if Willie Green is there. You get so I'm like, all right, there's something that you can look at as this organization to see where you grew or at least changed with the departure of Anthony Davis. The entire structure of this organization changed. So no, I'm not one of those that's mad or still holding on to, oh my God, they let Anthony Davis go. But look, I got family and friends in New Orleans and they're still holding on to that Chris Paul thing. So man, come on.
You're a bigger person than I am, because I would still be bitter if I were a Pelicans fan. But
you can't make somebody stay there who doesn't want to be there. When
I get it. I get the LA Taco Tuesdays with LeBron were just too irresistible.
Right. And going against LeBron in the NBA is like going against the mob, man. Look, if LeBron says something, you gotta go.
True.
Anthony Davis did not want to live that life of telling LeBron James no.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, whether it's AD or Zion in the Pelicans era is like one dominant big man or the other. When healthy, Pelicans great. When not healthy, Pelicans more vulnerable. I was so bummed to hear the Zion injury news after he put up such a monster game in their valiant but losing effort in their first playing game. I got to go with the Kings. Like the three-headed monster. Keegan Murray coming off that huge game. De'Aaron Fox, one of the best clutch players in the league, one of the most, get hot and then becomes unstoppable players in the league. And then Sabonis, doing his thing, crashing the boards every night, flirting with triple doubles every night. I just don't think that what the Pelicans have left at their disposal is enough to slow that down.
Yeah, I'm with you, Matt. I just think that, I think, the Sabonis is going to have a big night tonight. And, if McCollum and Ingram don't show up, I think it's like Scoop, like you said, I think we're gonna have an early night. You're gonna be watching something else probably by the third quarter in the end.
Before we get to the actual playoff field, Matt, I want to ask you about your guy Jose Alvarado, him and his dust up with D'Angelo Russell the other night. I thought of you when I saw that happen. I know you wanted a piece of a viewer out there on that court.
Man, Alvarado, you got to give credit to that guy for carving himself a role in the NBA. I can't believe that some people are still letting him get away with that, Grand Theft Alvarado move. Like, the tape is there. Well, everyone knows he does it. Legit credit to you. I was, we were out in Vegas last year covering Summer League, and I walked by Jose Alvarado on a Vegas casino floor, and I swear to God, that dude is 2 inches shorter than me. So good for him for being in the NBA.
Yeah, nice little check there. We're right into our NBA playoff preview special with our buddies, our writer Joshua Hicks, CHGO Bulls is Matt Peck, and of course veteran basketball writer Robert Scoop Jackson here on Second City Sports and Sports Chicago. Keenan McGee, Cindy Brown with you. All right, fellas, let's get to the main draw here in the playoffs. We'll start with probably the big one. I know you just alluded to it earlier, Matt. We'll start with you. Lakers and Nuggets. Do the Lakers have a chance to dethrone the defending champs?
No. That's my short answer. No, they don't. I still have the Nuggets as the odds-on favorites to win the chip again this year. I think when they are healthy and playing at their best, that no one in the league can touch them. If Boston gets out of the East, maybe Boston gives the Nuggets a good series, but the Lakers, even with LeBron, and all the credit to him for doing what he's doing in season 21 at the age he's at, the miles that are on his legs, and even if he has a healthy Anthony Davis riding with him, I just think that top to bottom, the Nuggets are a better team. They just are, and we saw them pick the Lakers apart in that playoff series last year. It was so funny when people were saying after game one, oh, like the Lakers may have found something with the way that they, were playing their defense and switched their defense up towards the end of that game. And yeah, the Nuggets won, but it kind of still feels like a Lakers victory somehow. And then what happened? What was the rest of that story? No, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if the Nuggets sweep them again. I'll give the Lakers one win.
Oh, aren't you sweet? You're such a gentleman, Matt. Scoop.
I think it's going to be. I think what we're gonna watch is a psychological masterclass in coaching by Mike Malone. Like, we've seen the Denver Nuggets kind of walk through this season as a team that didn't overextend themselves for the first time, having that type of championship target on your back for 82 games. They didn't get too high, didn't get too low, didn't panic. They didn't do what some teams do and try to make history by proving that their championship didn't matter to back it up during the regular season. I think Mike Malone did a masterful job in just keeping them very steady, just keeping them in the conversation and understanding that, hey, championships are built on big picture thinking, not like microcosmic thought processes along the line. So now that they're here, it happens to be the Lakers. But now that they're here, I think you will watch Michael Malone over the course of series to series, but specifically going game to game in this particular series, and how each game, I believe Denver is going to be more and more locked in to defending their championship. And it's going to be amazing to watch. No disrespect to Darvin Ham, who I think is a solid coach, but I think what we're about to see is a master at work. Like literally a master at work. And it's going to separate. You're going to see the separation game in and game out for the Lakers. And it's not going to be because of anything anybody does on the floor as far as players are concerned. It's strictly going to be how Mike Malone strategically gets into the minds of his players of what's at stake and what they have to do now. It's almost going to be like, look, I gave y'all 82 games off. The BS is done. Let's go. Now's where we make our mark. Now's where we lay our claim. Now all that people talking that we weren't good. He's going to go back to telling this team everything they heard last year when they couldn't do it. I believe he's almost going to make them forget that they won the championship last year. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to, to me, it's going to be a beautiful thing to watch. And I feel bad for the Lakers having to deal with that in the first round, but they're going to be the first of a few victims here. So,
Josh,
I want to give a personal shout out to Darvin Ham, just because I appreciate his confidence. Coming out the woodworks and saying, you know what, we want all the smoke. We ain't ducking nobody. We want all the smoke. I really appreciate that, especially from a brother to a brother perspective. However, they're gonna bring the brooms out on you, bro. They bringing the brooms because you have no chance. They have no chance. LA is outmatched. And the biggest thing that we always talk about with the Denver Nuggets that they succeeded in last year was they have 1 through 3 locked in. Who's going to be the fourth guy that's going to step up and take things to the next level? Who's going to be that X factor? The crazy part is for Denver every night, it can be anybody that's an X factor. You just fill it in. And that's something that the Lakers just don't have. As much as great as Jokic is and AD and these guys, they can battle it back and forth in the front court. LeBron's going to be LeBron. But who's going to lock down a hot Michael Porter Jr., especially if he gets streaking? Who's going to lock down a hot Jamal? Is D'Angelo Russell going to get cooked again by Jamal Murray? Because I'm thinking so. He almost got cooked by little Jose Alvarado, who literally combined his name with avocado and Alfredo sauce. I mean, I don't know what D'Angelo Russell could barely handle that. I don't know if he can't handle Jamal Murray. So I think the Lakers just cooked. They just don't have the pieces to keep up with this Denver Nuggets team. I know they wanted to smoke. AD was talking all that trash, and LeBron was talking all that trash, saying we want them again. We got something for them. Darvin Ham tried to hype it up as well, but the Scoop, like Scoop said, the Nuggets, they're prepared for this. They want this. They're ready for this, and they're gonna bring the brooms out quietly and say, "Here you go. Here's all the smoke you want. You want the smoke and the dust to come with it because you're going to the garbage once all this is done for." So they have no chance. I expect a sweep. It will be a shock if the Lakers do win a game, and I would applaud them because that'll probably be the one game Bron will go crazy for 50 points or something like that, and AD will have to do what he has to do to even get them afloat. But
then J.R. Smith's not going to know that they were actually not ahead, and then he's going to ruin it. I'm thinking of a different LeBron team. My bad.
I'm different than you. I think the Lakers may surprise us to get a couple of games out of here. But in all reality, this is almost like LeBron's East Coast past haunting him. Because the Lakers are going to become the same thing that the Toronto Raptors were to the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron was there. That team that shut down everything for damn, we can't avoid them. We can't do anything with them. So, I feel bad for Bron, but I think this is one of those things. It's like, oh, damn. Okay, now this is my payback for what I did to the whole, to Toronto for years. It's coming back on me. It just happens to be Denver right now. And there's really nothing I don't think he can do about it.
I'm joining on the boat of Matt Peck. I think the Lakers will get a game in this series, but pay attention to these couple of factors here. For the Lakers, Gabe Vincent, who recently just came back off the injury list, he was a little bit gimpy after that game against New Orleans the other night, so that's going to be one factor. The other factor that no one's talking about, we're going to the Denver side, and he had a great series against the Lakers in the West Final last year, Aaron Gordon.
Could be a big, yeah. I'll be nice. I'll give them maybe one. I'll give the Lakers one. I'll say Nuggets in 5. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. Now another big series getting a lot of buzz. Let's go to the East for a second. Scoop, I'll start with you. You got the Sixers and the Knicks. The Knicks and some of their injury issues. The Sixers are kind of getting going, especially now with Embiid back. Where do you see this series?
I knew you were going to come to me with that one. I knew it.
I had you in mind. I had you in mind for this one, Scoop.
I knew it. Oh, man, you're killing me with this. It's one of those things. Do you think with your heart, or do you think with your head, or do you think with your wallet? And since my wallet is empty right now, you can toss that out.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm going to go with my heart. I'm taking the Knicks.
Okay.
I think Joel Embiid, once again, not being 100% healthy, I think that will end up taking its toll on Philly. I think Philly has everything in place to basically beat them, depending on Joel Embiid's health situation. Because if Tobias Harris and Buddy Hield happen to show up and happen to start hitting threes and stretching out New York's defense, then Philly has a strong chance, even without Joel being 100%, to get out this series. But once again, I'm thinking with my heart. And not only am I been a Knicks fan my whole life, been a Knicks guy, even though we did go through divorce about 10 years ago. I left their ass. I was out. Peace sign, signed the papers, everything. I ain't want any alimony or nothing. I was like, I'm out. But Tibbs is my guy. New York is my team. But I got to stick with the hometown, because I covered him in high school, and to watch Jalen Brunson, coming from our area, coming from Stevenson, watching him be one of the last Chicago McDonald's All-American, the real deal. Watching him in Philly up close and personal, because my son was at Temple the same time he was at Villanova. They're the same age. And then watching him get drafted, do what he did in Dallas, then finally, given the keys to a franchise. There's no way, even if I believed that the Sixers would win, even if I had money in this flat ass wallet I got to spend on them, the Sixers, I couldn't do it, because my heart is with the Knicks. My heart is with Tibbs. My heart is with Worldwide West on the Knicks. And my heart is definitely with Jalen Brunson. So that's my off the record, non-professional, non-writing for the sports section of the Sun-Times answer. That's my Scoop Jackson 10 toes down, standing on my square answer. I'm going with my Knicks.
Josh?
Shout out to Worldwide West. Everywhere we go, we leave a worldwide mess.
That's right. Hey, watch what you say. West will show at your door one day. Be careful. You don't want that Worldwide West Secret Service knocking on your door, dude. They'll show up.
Oh gosh.
You're right. Shout out to Drake and Jay-Z. Pound Cake, if you guys didn't know, look it up. But I gotta go with the Knicks, man. Just because Joel Embiid does so much for Philly that when he's not healthy, Philly doesn't have the consistency to trust in the reinforcements that they do have. Nicholas Batum resurrected from the grave and saved them literally in this last game in the second half for them to even have a chance to beat Miami, because they was going to lose that game. I don't know if that's going to transfer over to this game or to this series. They have their ups and downs for sure, but Tobias Harris has to show up to give Philly a chance. Buddy Hield has to show up to give Philly a chance. And the reality is they have not proven themselves in that way to where they will consistently stand up and when the big lights are shining on them. And comparing that to someone like a Jalen Brunson, who has shown that he is him. He is that guy. It doesn't matter what spotlight it is. The dude will stay poised and switch you up and slice and dice you like a Swiss Army knife. It does not matter. He'll get you in any way he wants to. And to have his Villanova boys with him, adding to the fire, that's something that I don't think Philly has enough really to handle. I do believe in Nick Nurse. He's the championship coach for a reason. I do believe in Joel Embiid, but he's not fully healthy. But at the other end of things, man, New York is cooking. And I don't think Philly's ready to handle a hot New York team in Madison Square Garden at this time of the year. I don't think they're ready for that challenge to win 4 games out of 7. I just don't see it.
Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just be really bummed if we watch this series and it doesn't feature a 100% MVP caliber Joel Embiid. I feel like NBA fans will be robbed of a potentially great series if Embiid is out there hobbling on one leg. And if it was MVP version of Embiid, I think the Sixers could win this series, because that is talent that the Knicks don't have. But if Embiid is not 100%, or even beyond that, is a shade of himself, is 50%, then the Knicks have the best player in the series, and it's Brunson. And I don't think it's particularly close. I mean, Bulls fans just got 2 fat, aggressive doses of how great Brunson is down the stretch of the regular season. That guy is clutch as hell. And I think it's so funny that for all of the recent years of the, Randall and RJ Barrett Knicks, and whose team is this? And does this core really have what it takes to legit make perennial deep playoff runs and maybe even get back to the promised land where Knicks fans haven't been since the early 70s? And then Brunson comes in and he's like, nah, this is my team. This is my team now. And it is. I think it's crazy how as big of a market as the New York is, as big of a fan base as the Knicks are, all the media attention that they get, somehow the Brunson move, the Brunson acquisition, I still think is underappreciated and underrated when it comes to big star players changing teams in the NBA, because look where they are. And also, you have to shout out their move to get Dante DiVincenzo, who has been phenomenal for them. He has blossomed in his role with that Knicks team. And like Scoop, I'm a Tibbs guy. I love Tibbs. I still cry myself to sleep some nights thinking about that guy and the great years we had together when he was in Chicago. But with the uncertainty of what version of Embiid we're going to get and the underwhelming performances of his supporting cast this season, I have to give the upper hand to Brunson and the Knicks.
Yeah, and I also think that Tibbs is going to scheme. I think he's going to let Joel do his thing, regardless of what the health situation is. I think Tibbs is going to really scheme to make sure that Tyrese Maxey does not play anything like he played in the regular season. And it's going to take Nick Nurse a lot to figure out game to game how to get Maxey going, because Tibbs is going to make sure that he's the one that we have to stop. It's like Joel could do that, but if we slow down and stop Tyrese Maxey, we're good.
I got New York in 6. Scoot just took one of my points about the defense of Tyrese Maxey. He's one of the best young guards in the league, and like you said, Coach Tibbs is going to do whatever he can to stop Maxey. But I think this series is going to come down to rebounding. Joel Embiid, I think you mentioned it, Josh. He didn't give you Joel Embiid didn't have anything as far as energy-wise on the defensive end in that second half against Miami. Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, who just came back a few weeks ago from injury. Those two guys, I think they're going to set the tone as far as the interior defense for the New York Knicks. So I have New York in 6.
And keep in mind, Josh Hart is the top rebounding guard in the NBA?
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah, so that's right. Yeah, you gotta get that factor, in there when you're talking about rebounding, because that's a great element that the Knicks have working on their side. So, but yo, Matt, let me ask you real quick. You spoke about how underappreciated or under the radar the Jalen Brunson move was over there. Could that be because they never looked at him as a superstar to begin with? He wasn't a high draft choice. He was playing under Luka, and so, he hadn't made an all-star team. There was nothing there for them. He was just a lead guard. And I think that's why it's so underappreciated. And I have to call my man out, who's a colleague of mine. But a lot of that also has to do with Stephen A. Smith. And I know the power that he has in our reaches, but he's still to this day, and I don't understand it, clamoring for the Knicks to get Donovan Mitchell. As if, like, how you keep not appreciating what Jalen Brunson is doing, and you still out there screaming orange and blue skies and wanting Donovan Mitchell to come here. Like, you're still, I don't want to use the word, but you still brown emojiing my man as if he's not anything that Donovan, he's better than Donovan Mitchell. Can we finally?
Yeah.
Right.
It's like Jerry Krause drooling over a young Euro League Tony Kukoc when he has MJ and Scotty wearing Bulls jerseys.
Yes.
Like, dude, are you not living in the present? Like,
exactly.
Dude, Brunson is every bit as good as Donovan Mitchell.
Thank you. And guess what he's done is something Donovan Mitchell never has done. He's won. You get what I'm saying? He's won. Everybody in this league or in sports always talks about the importance of winning and who's winners. Here's a guy who won pretty much throughout high school, won 2 national championships at the college level in 3 years, one of them being the best player in the country, elevated Dallas, and now look what he's done to the Knicks, and we're just like, oh no, he's still replaceable. He's still not enough. What's funny to me is that because this conversation still goes on, and because the way he was not celebrated as a top player, as a star player, going over to the Knicks, and with people like Stephen A. who have the power to continue a narrative, that's why the public still doesn't appreciate him anymore. That's why we're not having him in these public conversations anymore. But let's see what happens over the playoffs, because I do believe this is a stage where he has the power to override public conversation and public narrative just by his play and what he's able to do with the Knicks through this run. So it's going to be interesting to see.
to piggyback off of what you said, Scoop, if Embiid was about 100%, then I probably would say Sixers in 7. Now I will say Knicks in 7 only because I think Tobias Harris, Buddy Hield, they're gonna have to step up and start shooting threes. I think he just said it earlier, and I don't see it happening. But I think I think the Sixers are very tenacious, so we'll see. But I think they will push in the 6 or 7. I'm not gonna like say that. Oh well, the Knicks are gonna sweep them out of the water. I mean, the Sixers actually did play the Knicks pretty tough, even without Embiid. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens in this series.
All right, let's go to the other side of the Eastern Conference bracket. Of course, the number 3 seed, the Milwaukee Bucks, will face the number 6 seed, Indiana Pacers. Of course, Bucks superstar Giannis Antetokounmpo will be out to start this series. Of course, Indiana has beaten Milwaukee 4 out of 5 times this year, including a couple of games in the early in-season tournament. Matt, I'll start with you. Does Indiana have enough to pull off the upset?
Absolutely, they do. Like, I think I'm picking Indiana. The Bucks are a mess. The Bucks are an absolute mess. Now led by notorious playoff choke artist Doc Rivers. What could possibly go wrong? Like, look, we know that the Pacers play no defense. I think their game 82 of the regular season was a hilarious. They put up 160 and they gave up 118 or whatever it was. But like, look, the Pacers can blow the doors off the Bucks. They can just outscore them every night in this series for however many games it takes. And the Bucks have not at any point this season, after firing Adrian Griffin after what was it, like their 30-13 start, they haven't been able to figure out anything. What exactly is Dame Lillard's role, and what version of, and look, credit to Giannis, who might not even finish top 5 in MVP voting, but is putting up an insane season stat-wise. I think I saw like first ever season of NBA history. None of the other greats among the big, Shaq, Will, whoever, of 30 points per game on above 50% shooting, 60% shooting from the field, something crazy like that. Giannis has had a great season, but the Bucks as a team are a mess. And I know that Halliburton has not been the same lights out, putting up historic stat lines every night version from before his midseason injury. But that Pacers team still know who they are, what they do well, and what they need to win games. And the Bucks don't know that about themselves. And we just saw them lose last season as a 1 seed in 5 games to a Heat team that barely got past a joke of a Bulls team to get to the playoffs. So, yeah, not only do I think the Pacers can win that series, I think they will win that series.
Josh?
Yeah, blue and yellow looks good this time of year. So I agree. Pacers are probably going to win it all. There's just so many question marks. And not to mention, Giannis is not even going to be here for the beginning of the series. You can't start the series off without Giannis. Your identity is pretty much screwed. And don't think the other Giannis is going to come in and fill in any of that void. I'm just saying. So because of that, I don't see them having a solution to stopping this high-powered offense led by Tyrese Halliburton and the incredible season that he's had in conjunction with the 2-man game that he has with Miles Turner. That's pretty darn hard to guard. And the Bucks don't even know how to handle that defensively. I just think it's just too many question marks with the Bucks right now that they're still trying to figure out at this point of the end of the season, that they needed to have answered prior to having an opponent like the Indiana Pacers, who knows their roles, who's disciplined to understand and understand who they are and what they are, behind the leadership of a rising point guard in Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner, in the front court. I just don't see the Bucks getting it done.
Scoop?
3 for 3. I agree. But my thing is is this really an upset? You know what I'm saying? If you really look at it, I don't think it is. I think by number-wise, possibly, but I don't look at this as an upset. I mean, I think all of us could say on this, I think we'd be honest. I think if all of us are being honest with ourselves, and they say in basketball, over the course of a 7-game series, the best teams, most of the time, if not all the time, win. I think all of us will say Indiana's a better team than Milwaukee at this point. even though the record doesn't reflect it. You know what I'm saying? I think we'll say that. And it's their style of play. So I don't even look at this as an upset. I'm not saying it's an expectation, but I'm saying I don't look at this as an upset. And I think Milwaukee was almost doomed from the start. I think Adrian Griffith came in and, the removal of Drew Holiday kind of caught them by surprise, and you really understood once he left the role that he played on this entire team. But the way, like Matt said, the way they went out last year, some change had to be made, because even though Giannis only missed, I think, 2 games in that series, they still got beat by an 8 seed in 5. And the way Jimmy Butler exposed them, some change had to be made. But my thing is that I don't think Milwaukee as a team has recovered from that. And what we're seeing right now is a team that still is psychologically damaged from that Miami loss, from the way they lost. Now, there's other components that went in here, but they have not been able to recover. You lose your point guard who got you your championship in losing that series to Miami. You lose your coach in losing that series to Miami. So basically, you lost 2 coaches, correct? Drew Holiday's your coach on the floor. You got Bud as your coach, on the sidelines. Both of them are gone. You bring in somebody that you think is going to answer the question in a Dame Lillard, because you're looking at, you just got outscored. You're almost looking at, well, everything we've done that we could have done to beat Miami to get advanced is in scoring. It's on the offensive end. We need somebody else to take the load off of Giannis where we can get other scoring. You bring Dame Lillard in, which is a good one, but Dame never settled in for various reasons too. Let's not just look at it as you're dealing with someone who's been in the league for 15 years, and now it's his first time ever being away from the place he's been. But he's also dealing with internal issues, separation from his wife, fiance, whatever, being away from his kids, all the psychological stuff that went on with this and doing this on the fly. Then 40 games in, you replace a coach. Then you look at Chris Middleton not being able to get back to Chris Middleton days. You know what I'm saying? Then you're talking about you losing DiVincenzo, and he goes to another team. This and you bring Doc Rivers in, and nothing against Doc Rivers, but hell, Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley, none of them could have resurrected the Bucks if you came in when 40 games into this mess. It wasn't recoverable for any coach. And so just on the talent of Giannis alone, putting up those numbers that Matt spoke about, he was able to keep this Titanic afloat. But now it's 0-0. They always say playoffs get you back to 0-0. Now we're back at fair game. Now, even with Giannis playing, I think Indiana had a chance to beat them, because over the course of the season, I do think they are a better team, regardless of what they do defensively. If your offense is that strong, over the course of a season, you'll be able to win games. Playoff games is a little bit different. You have to play some type of defense. But when you're playing against a team that is fractured and has been fractured for an entire year, I don't want you to lose what I'm saying here. I'm not talking about Milwaukee being fractured for 82 games. This started this exact time last year. They didn't rectify it over the summer. It carried over the summer. This is a whole calendar year where this team has been fractured. So Indiana's coming in, I think, just as a better team with a chance to win. And you add to that, and we saw Miami did to them last year. Like I said, Giannis missed 2 games. Now he's starting off the series, not playing or possibly not being 100%. So you're giving now them an advantage to 1 or 2 or maybe 3 games. Yeah, I don't see why this is even considered an upset. I think this is the better team that's actually going to beat Milwaukee in the 7-game series. And Milwaukee has to use this offseason to figure, the minute this series is over, they need to get to work on fixing everything. not waiting until, no, they need to really look at, we got to, they can't do what the Bulls did and do nothing. You know what I'm saying? And be fine. Like, we have to make it. They really need to look and start to heal this fracture the minute this series is over.
Yeah, quickly here, Lakina. I have Indiana in 6, and I'll just piggy off of Scoop's point by saying this. I think it's fair to say that Doc Rivers is the Jeff Fisher of the NBA. Unlike Jeff Fisher, who did not win a Super Bowl with the Tennessee Titans back in the day, Doc Rivers is living off of that one championship back in 08 with the Boston Celtics. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, take the over in all these games, and I think the Pacers will score 120 points on average in their 6th game. And I think they're going to beat the Bucks in 6. And as Scoop said, they're going to have to do a complete soul searching because something's amiss there. Last few minutes here with our illustrious panel here on Second Seed Sports Soccer NBA playoffs. I know, Matt, you have to jet in a few minutes, so I want to get your thoughts real quick on Mavs and Clippers and Suns and T-Wolves.
I mean, two series that I am so excited to watch. I really hope that we get Kawhi in there in that Mavs Clippers series. I know it's his availability is still up in the air. The last updates we've gotten. I think I'm giving a slight edge to Dallas in that series because Luke is the best player in that series. Even with a 100% Kawhi, Paul George, Harden, no disrespect to any of them, Luke is the best player in that series. I think Luka should deservedly finish 2nd in MVP this season behind Joker. And he has finally flourished with some complementary pieces around him that make sense. I mean, shout out to Bulls legend Daniel Gafford. Speaking of people who I cry myself to sleep thinking about sometimes, I just saw in my Twitter feed this morning complete list of NBA players to have a season in which they shoot 72% from the field. And what was the other stipulation? Oh, and averaging above 10 points per game. Wilt, Daniel Gafford, that's the list. And it doesn't matter if it's Gafford or the wildly impressive young career production of Lively, PJ Washington, another bold midseason move that they made. That Dallas team is cooking, and they are dangerous. And we have seen Luka lead that team and different iterations of that team all the way to a conference finals before. And I think he could do it again. So even if we get Kawhi in that series, I still think I'm giving the edge to Dallas because Luka is that good, and the complementary pieces that they added around him midseason have worked out beautifully. And then T-Wolves and Suns, toss up. I know the Suns took care of the T-Wolves in their regular season head-to-head. I still am terrified of what the Suns' fourth quarter offense has looked like all season long. And especially when you talk about crunch time minutes in fourth quarters of playoff games. Yeah, KD is great and Book is great, but I would not be surprised if we see Minnesota come out on top of that series, regardless of what we saw in the regular season.
All right, now where people can find you on social media on CHA Bulls tonight.
Twitter handles right there, Bulls_Peck. We are CHO_Bulls on Twitter. Always live pre and post game on our CHO Sports YouTube channel, including for tonight's epic showdown, Bulls Heat play-in part 2. Revenge for somebody. I don't know. But yeah, 5:30 Central Time. We will be live from our CHO studios downtown Chicago to hang out with and entertain our fellow Bulls fans before and after Bulls Heat. You can always find us there. We always, even in the off season, doing 5 CHO Bulls pods a week to keep our fellow Bulls fans, as therapeutically content as we can.
All right. So I'll tell Big Dave and the rest of the CHO game we said what's up, and we'll definitely have you back on soon.
Will do. Lakina, Sid, always good to see you guys. Always appreciate the invite. Josh, keep holding it down, my man. You're doing great stuff out there. We appreciate you. And Scoop, a pleasure, sir, and an honor to chat with you.
Pleasure, my man. Honor's all mine. Appreciate you.
Y'all take care.
All right.
All right, Matt.
All right. Okay, Josh. All right. Your thoughts on the rest of the Western Conference series.
I agree with Matt. I'm definitely going to give the edge to the Mavericks not just because of Luka being Luka. That's just a given. Let's also forget playoff Kyrie's a different beast. And the fact that Kyrie Irving has finally found a good match to pair teammate-wise with Luka. That backcourt together, that pairing, they figured it out. And they've been rolling ever since the second half, since the All-Star break. I expect Kyrie Irving to come out in a major way to make a statement from the previous years that he's recently had since his departure, really since his Boston days. Because he hasn't been to the playoffs much since then from with everything that he's gone through, especially off the court. So I expect the Mavericks to come out in a big way, that even though the Clippers have all the reinforcements, they have all the talent, especially even the Kawhi Leonard plays, I do like the Mavs and how they're playing really good basketball right now that will get them over the hump in that series. As far as Timberwolves and Suns, I'm going Timberwolves just because you can't cut out Ant-Man. Ant-Man's arrived. And he has arrived in such a way where even though KD, D-Book, Bradley Beal and those guys, they have what it takes. And not to mention Grayson Allen in Phoenix, who's been shooting lights out from three-point range as well all season long, shooting above the 40% clip. But I just think the Timberwolves have the reinforcements to slow the Suns down. They have the defensive presence with Rudy Gobert in the paint. They also have Jaden McDaniels on the wing that can help slow down some of that wing play along with Anthony Edwards. They just have pieces that can kind of fit with the way that Phoenix Suns want to play defensively. So I'm going to give Ant-Man and the Timberwolves the edge when it comes to that specific series.
All right. Scoop?
I'll start here with I was going to go in reverse, but I'll start here with the Mavs and the Clippers. I can't say I 100% agree with what Matt said. To say that if Kawhi's on the floor, and I know Kawhi's not going to be 100% healthy, but Kawhi has done things in championship and playoff moments. No disrespect to Luka, that we have Luka, but we have not seen Luka do that. And with that guy on the floor, especially on the defensive end, I'd have to see Luka beat Luka against Kawhi Leonard over the course of a 7-game series to say that Luka is going to be the best player on the court. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Kawhi may not be healthy, but we've seen Kawhi do some stuff that very rarely is seen any individual player can do. We watched that man carry a whole team to a championship and damn near do it on one leg.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not going so far to say that Luka's the best player on the court. That being said, if Kawhi is at 80 and doesn't get re-injured during the course of this series, I'm leaning towards saying the Clippers have a chance because we've been waiting for this Clippers team to show what it's really about in a series. And this is the closest we've ever gotten to making that happen. Now, I say this with a caveat because just as I'll say that in a matchup, I guess, between Luka and Kawhi, if it's close to 100%, if Kawhi is 80, I'm leaning towards Kawhi because of what I've seen in the past. There's an underlying narrative that I haven't heard anybody talk about that's going to be like almost more interesting. And that's the Kyrie James Harden matchup, only because of what the hell went down in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, yeah. So I'm wondering how that's going to play itself out over the course of this series. Like, Kyrie is a whole different beast and can be a whole different beast in playoff time. But does he take it up a level when he has quote unquote revenge factor on his mind too? Like James Harden, we got James Harden over here in Brooklyn with us to do some things. And even though I was taking one of my stances, he still checked out on me. Mm-hmm. He still checked out on us. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And if you're asking me, does that internal narrative factor in to how this series can tip itself and which one I'm leaning on? I think, yes, it does have the power to tip the scales of the series. And if it tips itself, looking at what these players can perform and have done in the past in the playoffs, I'm riding with Kyrie all day. All day. Because even though the Clippers don't need James Harden to be James Harden, as other teams have in the past, when he hasn't been able to beat James Harden consistently for them, I think Kyrie's incentive to individually send a message, like, I haven't forgotten what happened, in Brooklyn. And I'm not saying you're not like my KD where you're supposed to be my ride or die, but we brought you in here. And when I wasn't there, James, you kind of checked out on us. You really wanted to get to Philly or whatever. Whatever Kyrie has in his head, I think it's going to play itself out on the court in that matchup between he and James Harden. So that's what I'm arguing between. Like, I'm choosing Kawhi on one end, but I'm choosing Kyrie on the other. So where do the X factors play in this? And I will say I'm leaning towards Dallas because of what they've been able to do after the All-Star break. But I remember the last time I was on this show and we were all together and we were asked who was going to come out of the West. And I remember saying, if healthy, I'm sticking with the Clippers. So based on me not being a hypocrite, and not being two-faced, right, you know what I'm saying? And not trying to look for a third-party candidate to, like, scapegoat myself out of, I'm going to stick with what I'm saying. I'm sticking with the Clippers. Once again, asterisk, if stay healthy. I'm standing on that. Now, the other series, I'm going with the Phoenix Suns. And I hear what you're saying about Ant-Man, Joshua. I agree with you. Ant is the truth. But there's also this narrative out here that I'm kind of fighting against. And I'm fighting against it when I make my choice. In that, the fact that since KD has left, what's this thing they were saying on one of those shows? Or I heard it and on social media that KD hasn't gotten out of the second round or whatever since he left Golden State.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting to me how people paint these pictures because in two of those series, and it's funny how the media shapes narrative and we like a sheep and follow that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who says or puts it on Kevin Durant that they didn't get out that series against Milwaukee when he almost single-handedly beat Milwaukee only by a couple of inches on a shot that still went in. And you're going to hold that against him in a larger narrative that he had got it. And they won the championship that year.
Mm-hmm.
He damn near beat the future champs by himself. But yet you're going to say he didn't get out the second round. That's not fair. Let's go to last year. The Phoenix Suns were the only team last year to get 2 games off of Denver. 2. And they may have gotten more, had not Chris Paul gotten hurt, and you forgot their center, Ayton, got hurt in that series in Game 5. But of all the other teams that the eventual champs won, got through, they were the only team that got 2. Now, Devin Booker did not show up in that Game 6. Now, we don't know if he's not going to show up again. But what I'm saying is that they have a different coach and a little more firepower offensively than they did last year. And they played the champs better than everyone else. So it bothers me when this Kevin Durant hadn't gotten out of, the second round. And guess what? They were a 4 seed against the number 1 seed last year. He wasn't supposed to get out. So I say that all to say, I'm taking Phoenix because I'm not falling for that, I'm not banana in the tailpipe is not getting me when it comes to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is still Kevin Durant. And he has the ability, especially with some help, and no disrespect to anybody they throw at him, he has the ability to be the difference maker in any series. And I'm hoping that Kevin Durant hears all this nonsense and this narrative and takes it out on the court. Just to remind folks, you know what I'm saying? Just to remind folks that he still got, he may not be he, but he damn sure walking around with the H on his chest. He's one letter away from being that he. So I'm taking Phoenix.
Quickly, Lakina, in the Clippers Dallas series, I'm going with the Clippers in 7. In this Minnesota Phoenix series, I'm gonna jump on your bandwagon, Scoop. You made a convincing argument for me. I was gonna go with Minnesota. I know Karl Anthony Towns is back, but you mentioned the Kevin Durant factor, and when he has it going on, a scoring rise, and no one can stop him. So I'm going with Phoenix in 6.
Well,
and there haven't been too many times where he hasn't. You know, people he still
right.
averaged 30 in the playoffs late. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on now, stop.
Yeah.
Just stop this whole thing. Stop forgetting who this dude really is.
Well, and I think Scoop, I am going to take the Suns in 6 because for what you said, Scoop, I mean, it seems like people are kind of forgetting that, hey, KD's got 2 championships. So it's not like he doesn't know how to make it the playoffs. So I'm a little bit worried about the fact they don't have a true point guard. They don't have much depth, but I think if KD and Book and Beal, if they can kind of like lead the charge and, you know, maybe they can compensate for that. In Minnesota, I don't say I don't trust them, but the last couple of weeks, they kind of show you why I'm a little bit iffy on them. Now, as far as the Mavs and the Clippers, I've said Clippers in 6, and mainly because I'm a little bit worried about Luka. That's how Luka on the phone calling right now. To me, Luka is going to be. He might be wearing himself out. I think, and we saw what happened the last couple of years. That's why Dallas didn't make the playoffs last year. So because of that, Kawhi and that whole, Harden may not just need to just be like kind of like a good 6th or 7th guy. Especially with Westbrook. I think that's what's going to lead them to beating the Mavs. That's why I got the Clippers in 6 for that one.
All right, wrapping up here on our 2024 NBA playoff preview show right here on Second City Sports. We have Scoop Jackson with us. We have Josh Hicks hanging out here with us. I'm Cindy Brown along with Lakina McGee. I think it's safe to say, guys, that Boston and Oklahoma City, both the number 1 seeds in their respective conferences, will win their first round series, whoever they play. I want to get you guys' opinion on the 4 or 5 matchup in the Eastern Conference between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Orlando Magic quickly. Josh, I'll be honest here. I didn't like the way Cleveland has played over the last few weeks. I know they've been dealing with injuries more this year than they did last year. Donovan Mitchell is talking about an extension. We'll see what happens with that. But as far as this series is concerned, the Orlando Magic had a nice year, and I don't think no one expected them to be in this position. Cleveland, they had the home court advantage. Who you have win this series and why?
I wouldn't be surprised if Orlando wins, just because Orlando has nothing to lose. They're going in there completely free. First experience for Paolo Banchero, and really just for the whole franchise in general. It's been a decade long since they've really been in the playoffs. So I think they're going to come with the excitement. They'll be ready to go. Mosley is just a heck of a coach. And he definitely should have been at least a candidate for coach of the year. I don't know if he was, but if he wasn't, he should have been, because of what he's done in Orlando as well. But he has those young guys rolling, man. And Paolo Banchero has been stepping up to take on that challenge of leadership as that go-to person. I don't think he's going to be shying away from this, not just because of the fact that he's in his own way kind of built for this, but I even think with him being on Team USA last summer, really kind of helped prepare him for moments like this, so that way as that guy, he could step into that role and really lead the Magic in a way that, like you said nobody really expected for the Orlando Magic to be in. So I would not be surprised with the way Cleveland's been playing. They got all the headlines and the question marks behind the scenes that can play and take a toll in how they play within this playoff series. I wouldn't be surprised if Orlando wins it all. I do think Cleveland will win in probably 7 games, but I would not be surprised if Orlando Magic takes the reins from them.
Scoop?
I agree. I almost don't want to say anything because Josh hit everything. Yeah, I think Cleveland is going to end up pulling it out, and I think at some point, it's like you said, Orlando doesn't know any better, and they have nothing to lose. And maybe in that last game, nothing to lose can't be a strategy when you're going against a team that, in their minds, have everything to lose. And at some point, the experience of being there before and underachieving, I think in this case, will be the overriding factor that Cleveland has that Orlando doesn't have an answer to. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to. I think I put it this way: Orlando losing will give them, if Orlando loses, they have much less to think about as an organization compared to if Cleveland loses. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking that at some point that's going to kick in as, you know, almost like, okay, we're not even trying to win just to win. We're trying not to lose. We can't get embarrassed. So that incentive, I think, will kick in with Cleveland that Orlando at this point does not have, you know, and it's kind of like looking at OKC and looking at Minnesota. And Lakeem, you kind of said it, is that it's hard to use teams when you don't have any samples to use to validate the way you're feeling or the assessment that you're trying to make. Regular season really isn't a good sample to use in the playoffs when you're going against teams that we've seen have playoff runs, you know, especially recent playoff runs, and do have playoff experience where the teams don't. So it's hard for me to say, all right, well, Orlando's going to do something. What am I basing that on? I've seen what Cleveland can do and Cleveland can't do, and what they're supposed to not do again coming into these playoffs based on what they did in the playoff, what they've done in the playoff past over the last couple of years with this unit they have together. Same thing with OKC. We haven't seen them. You know, not saying that they'll lose, but it's hard when you're making playoff assessments, because we all know you make playoff assessments based on what that same team did the year before in the playoffs. Unless they do something astronomical, you know, during the regular season that shows a shift in dynamic. Other than that, you say, nah, that's good. They maintain where they are. Let's see what they do now. You know, let's see where they grew last year from this time last year. And it's hard to do that. So in this particular case, I'm using that theory and applying it to this series with Orlando and Cleveland. Like, I don't know what I'm getting. I have no idea what I'm going to get from Orlando in this series. But at least with Cleveland, I know what they haven't given. And the hope is that as most teams, you don't give the same thing. You know, you scratch out some of those other voids to make sure they don't happen 2 years in a row. And I kind of tend to lean on that when making assessments of who's gonna come out of a series like this.
Yeah, echoing what you guys said, I think, look, we don't know what Orlando is. It's going to be their first time in the playoffs in about a decade. So, yeah, I think I'll pick Cleveland in 7, and, you know, just because of the injuries, I think, you know, Orlando will probably win a couple of their home games. So, but it should be an interesting series, though. I mean, look, Orlando's playing with house money, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll be having a conversation next year. This time next year, we'll be having a different conversation about, because now we will have seen them.
Yep. Good point, Scoop. I'll step out. I'll say Orlando in 7. Like I said, Cleveland wins the series, okay, but I'll step out on the table and say Orlando in 7. Now, final question for you guys. As far as your NBA Finals matchup, is it Boston and Denver, or is it somebody else? Scoop, I'll start with you.
Man. I'm trying to think it out of my head. Yeah. Once again, I'm trying to not be a hypocrite. I'm trying not to be a hypocrite. But I'll say Denver definitely. I'll lean on Denver. I'll lean on Denver. I want Denver getting there again. I have zero faith in Boston. But I have less faith in the field. So yeah. I really, you know, right. So I'm like, it's almost like I'm picking Boston by default to be in it. I'm not saying like the Bulls could beat them if they get past Miami. I don't see that happening. But I'm trying. You know what? F it. Nah. I'm taking Denver and whoever comes out of that Philly Knicks series.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
Because seriously, I got the Knicks winning, but like I said, part of that is Joel's hit situation. But if Joel is able to get through and his knee holds up from game to game in that series against the Knicks, and he gets more comfortable, and it becomes less problematic in the next round. In the next round, I could see Philly, if they face Boston, beating them. And I could also see if the Knicks get through, gaining confidence and possibly beating Boston. So I can't pick exactly who's coming out the East, and I'm not taking the field, but it's Denver against whoever wins that New York Philly series. That's my answer.
Okay.
Josh?
Yeah, I don't have much faith in Boston at all either. I really just want to say I want to leave it to the field. Like whoever gets it, who cares? Coming out of the Eastern Conference, I just don't really have that much faith in Boston. I really don't. Denver, I know they're pretty much the given. I think earlier last time we did this, I might have said either the Clippers or the Suns, one of the two, to get there. But Denver's the guarantee. They're the feeling guarantee that you know that it doesn't matter who they really play, they have what it takes to go back, and they most likely will. So yeah, I agree with the Denver component, but I'm just gonna put TBD to be determined on the Eastern Conference side. Just because I don't have much faith in Boston, and everybody else is kind of just a up in the air show. So that's who I'm gonna go with. You revisit back with me in the finals, and we'll see if that actually plays out. But that's who I'm gonna go with right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, I think I said Clippers and Sixers and Suns. Now the Suns, I'll say the Clippers. I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a mulligan there. I'll say the Clippers and the East, but I don't know. I don't know. Like you guys said, I mean, I have no faith in Boston. The Knicks are kind of iffy at times. The Sixers, we'll see. I don't know how Embiid's knee hold up. I don't know. Everyone else there. So I'll say Clippers and somebody from the East. I don't know.
I'll be that guy that says Boston and Denver, but I will piggyback off your point, Scoop, about the New York Knicks. I don't think it's going to happen in this series, but if Julius Randle was healthy, I think they would have a better chance of beating Boston than they do right now. They matched up today.
I agree with that.
All right, guys. This hour's been so much fun. It goes right by as usual. So, Josh, I'll start with you. Where people can find all your great work and on social media and all that good stuff.
Instagram and Twitter at Josh M. Hicks Media. Got a lot of things coming your way. Looking forward to sharing it with you all.
And Mr. Jackson.
Chicago Sun-Times every Friday for the most part. Well, Saturday since the Bulls are playing tonight. So my column will run tomorrow on ChicagoSunTimes.com, and on Sunday actually in the paper. And that's it. I mean, my work is kind of all over the place, but you can always check either the Instagram account at Strong Island Media Shy, Twitter, OG3 Scoop. And Facebook is always posting something that I happen to be writing on. And that's it, man. I told y'all before, man, I'm not the bad boys moving silent. So I'm keeping it, I keep it low.
Yes. Nothing wrong with that. Gentlemen, thank you so much again. We're definitely gonna be doing this again and enjoy the NBA playoffs, and should be fun.
Most definitely. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah, thank you guys. Much continued success.
Let me clarify one thing. I just thought about what I said because it's a KRS-One line. I said bad boys moving silent. Please don't think I meant puffy bad boy label and moving silent. Do not get that twisted. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh
God.
On that note. Thank you guys again.
Much love, y'all.
Appreciate you.
All right, much continued success to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Sid. Thanks
again.
Right. Y'all take it easy.
Guys.
All right, Josh.
You too, Scoop. All right, Josh.
Peace.
Great job, guys. All right. Oh boy. Oh, it's again so much fun as always when we have our illustrious and colorful panel on. Always.
Yes, hopefully we can bring it back at some point during the NBA Finals, and like you said, I think we're gonna have it exciting playoff run this year. I think the Bulls will get it done tonight against the Miami Heat. I'm taking Sacramento over New Orleans in the other playing game in the Western Conference. And just to give you guys a schedule for tomorrow and Sunday, of course, ESPN has a triple header starting at noon. These are all game ones with Orlando and Cleveland. The Knicks and the 76ers at 5 o'clock. Minnesota and Phoenix at 2:30. Of course, the Saturday night game is game one between it's not the Clippers, the Lakers in Denver. And of course, Sunday, it'll be Boston versus somebody, probably the Chicago Bulls on ABC. And then, of course, game one between the Clippers and Dallas. That's at 2:30 on Sunday. And then TNT will pick up their coverage starting on Sunday with the two games at 6 o'clock and again at 8:30.
I believe our buddy Spiro Diaz will be doing one of those games for TNT. I don't know which one, but I think he is going to do one of those games. So make sure you guys check him out. There should be
okay. The TNT games for Sunday night at 6 o'clock. We'll have Pacers Milwaukee game one, followed by Oklahoma City versus Sacramento or New Orleans. That's at 8:30 on Sunday, game one of that series. So that's your NBA playoff schedule for this weekend.
Should be fun as usual. You can find my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, execute going in the IG.
You can follow your Shirley Cindy Brown on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live and in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, exclusively on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Catch Second City Sports live and in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, we want to thank our great NBA playoff panel: Josh Hicks, Matt Peck, and Scoop Jackson. As always, great stuff here. And of course, you can check out all their stuff on various platforms.
Yes. And don't forget to check us out live in 11 color on Roku TV.
All right, enjoy all the NBA and NHL playoffs. Of course, we got baseball going on, and golf, soccer, all that good stuff. A busy spring here in the sporting world. Of course, don't worry, we have not forgotten about the NFL draft. We'll continue that as it starts on Monday, and of course, we'll have the recap of day one coming up. We'll see if the Bears make any moves, to trade back. But Lions season will hopefully, thankfully, it's coming to an end in about a week.
Yeah, so we'll kick in the NFL coverage of the draft into high gear starting on Monday. Of course, we'll have the day one recap next Friday on this show as well. So keep it here on Second City Sports. We got you covered from all angles.
All right, so enjoy all the sports for Sid. I'm the Kansas Second City Sports on Sports in Chicago. We'll see you Monday.
Go Bulls! Only the Bulls. Holla!